Oh, welcome in, everybody. This is Pucks in the Pantry Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Hope you're all having just a wonderful Tuesday night. Yes, tonight we had preseason game number two for the Boston Bruins against the Washington Capitals. Bruins take that one, guys, 4-2 tonight. Overall, fairly solid effort from the group. So we're going to take just a quick dive into the game, take a look at some of the key players, some of the guys I was watching tonight, some of the youngsters that have been much talked about over the past 2 and 3 days. I'm also going to do a little bit of an abridged season preview for the Washington Capitals. Just seemed to make sense where they were up next anyway, and we had them there at the Garden tonight. So yeah, 4-2 win for Boston. Goal scorers, goals for Boston came from Tufte, Lysell, Patrick Brown, and Justin Brazeau. For Washington, you had Connor McMichael and Crystal, both scoring. Crystal getting that one late to make it 4-2. Shots on goal. Washington had a little bit of a flurry there late. Ends up being 22-19. Washington, those were stats from ESPN right after the game, so that could, of course, shift. Uh, Face-off circle, Boston wins that 53.2% versus 46.8 for Washington. So, standouts tonight for me, I really liked what I saw from Corpusello in net. He looked very comfortable, only faced the 7 shots, but everything was stopped and just looked kind of in the zone a bit. Again, he's a veteran guy. This is, you know, nothing new for him, a preseason game, but um, just nice to see him out there looking comfortable, looking good. I liked Ian Mitchell's game tonight, defenseman. I just thought he kind of kept things simple, was moving the puck around, I thought pretty well. He gets an assist on one of those goals too tonight. Patrick Brown kind of impressed me as well. He was aggressive. He was kind of around the puck a lot. Of course, he nets a goal tonight too. Young kid, Matty Patra, first action in quite some time for him, and he looked sharp. He just looked sharp. He looked like he's ready to go. Very little question about his role in this team. He's going to be on this club. Things have to go really, really wrong for him not to earn a spot. And then Georgi Merkulov, I think, looked a lot sharper tonight. Better passing, good plays there on the boards, and was involved tonight. So that was very nice to see. Just seemed a little bit more confident with the puck on his stick tonight. So that was good to see. But of course, tonight, guys, the story, of course, is going to be Fabian Lysell. Talked a lot about him after that first preseason game where he was just kind of unnoticeable. Monty talked about it. There need to be more out of him, and he got that tonight for sure. He was just involved from the drop of the puck, um, getting shots. I know he had a shot off the crossbar there earlier in the game, there in the first period. Had some nice 200-foot play too tonight. He had a couple nice stick checks and was playing some good hockey there in the neutral zone, breaking up some plays. You could start to see the speed from him tonight. He's always been known as kind of a fast player. Starting to see that tonight. And the power play goal he got was just a wicked shot, just quite the snipe from the dot on that power play. A little bit of a back foot drag over the blocker. So really nice to see him get that. Um, and then not too long after that, he's actually able to draw a penalty where he's kind of gets the puck close into the net, and that play creates a penalty for Washington. So he did a little bit of everything tonight, and like I said, I think his speed was really on display. So he was definitely one of those players I was looking at and watching tonight. A couple other guys I was watching, I kind of noted Brett Harrison. Harrison, who played very well in the Prospect Challenge out in Buffalo. Kind of wanted to see what he had. He was out there. Um, you know, had uh, had a couple good looks tonight, right? He had a nice shot from the slot early. Got blocked. Was playing out there with Patra and Freddie. So early on, first period, had a couple good shifts. He had some speed. A couple defensive plays where he gets back quick and just you know contextually knew where he had to be on the ice. Um, Second period had another nice shot from the hash marks, nice feed from Johnson on the power play, a nice catch and release. Um, and that shot actually, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that he gets an assist on that because I think that comes off of the Lysell goal, so he was involved in that play. And then late in the third, or sometime early, I think kind of middle of the third period, I should say, and a golden opportunity on a 2-1-1 from Matty Poitras, just pass just doesn't quite hit. Um, but he looked good again. I don't think Harrison's someone that's really right now being highly considered for the NHL club, but certainly has talent. It was nice to see him out there tonight. And I don't think he did anything to hurt his chances. Mark McLaughlin was another one I was watching tonight. Quite honestly, early on, you saw him out there a little bit, had some nice physical play, um, in the ozone there early on, just a couple of forward checks, but wasn't super duper noticeable as far as I was concerned. But it didn't look bad out there. He was definitely playing physical, but just not a whole lot of opportunities. I'm not going to say he played bad. I um, just didn't get a lot of opportunity. With the puck on his stick or anything. But a guy who's been around now a little bit, I'm really cheering for him to hopefully get some more chances here in the preseason. And then lastly, looking at Tyler Johnson, of course, the veteran player here on a PTO. Curious to see how he looked tonight, and he looked just fine, right? I mean, he made a lot of good veteran plays out there. Had a nice like sweeping shot. Um, I think it was right after the Tufty goal. I kind of really nice opportunity. Misses the net, but was out there active. And yeah, just I thought was just fine out there. Again, didn't do anything to hurt his chances or hurt his opportunities to make this club. He's interesting, right? I feel like if the Jeremy Swayman situation was resolved and the Bruins knew what they had left, in the tank for salary, they probably have him signed at this point. Is my opinion, but because they just don't know where that number is going to land or how it's going to work out, they really can't tie up any more money with someone like a Tyler Johnson. So we'll see how all that goes. But end of the day, guys, tonight was I think a good night for the youngsters. Lysell, Markaloff, Patra. I think they all look really, really sharp, really, really good, and good on them. I think give Lysell a couple more games like this. He's going to make it very interesting on the coaches in terms of making decisions and how they're going to build this roster out. So, um, yeah, fun game to watch, and again, good to see those youngsters out there performing well. So, whoop. And in the spirit of wearing the team hat of the team I'm talking about, um, we're shifting gears. Now I have my Washington hat on, and we are going to shift gears and talk about the Washington Capitals and give them a little bit here of a season preview. Starting with head coach Spencer Carberry. First year as a head coach last season. Of course, through that 82 games, had a 40-31-11 record. Did spend time as a coach in the East Coast Hockey League with South Carolina. Did have a stint down in Providence, actually, with the Bruins, before moving off to Hershey as a head coach. Of course, that's the Washington AHL affiliate. Very successful Washington affiliate, I should say. And then also spent 2 years as an assistant in Toronto before getting the job back here in Washington. Salary cap is a little bit of a mess right now, according to Puckpedia. They're well over 10 million over the cap. Sitting here today with 22 of 23 active roster spots. There's going to be some long-term injury reserve money potentially coming back out. We know that TJ Oshie is going to be out for the year. Just him alone is a 5.75 million cap hit. So it should kind of cut that number in half, and they'll have to make those roster adjustments. There might be some other LTIR guys they're looking at to come back off. But of course, come early October, they'll have to get that compliant, and we'll see how they maneuver that. First round in the draft this year, guys, they had the number 17 pick, and they took forward Tarek Parascat or Parascat. Apologize for my pronunciation there. Young kid played in the WHL last season, 68 games, a monster year for himself, 43 goals, 62 assists for 105 points. So, get another nice prospect. This Washington team, you look at that Hershey Bears AHL, I feel like they're really, really successful. Done a lot of winning here over the last few years. They've got just, I think, a slew of good young talent. The goalie we saw tonight in Boston for them is one of their bright young stars and probably the long term answer in net as you go here a few years down the road. Um, so I just think that the future is very, very bright. If some of these kids start to hit coming out of Hershey. Going back to last year, what an interesting year for the Capitals. They, of course, finished 40, 31, and 11, 91 points, and they sneak they sneak in. I mean, they skin of their teeth get that second wildcard spot in the East, beating out Detroit, beating out Philly, just the way that cookie crumbled last couple days, they get in. Some people feel like, well, uh, didn't really earn it, or other teams failed to kind of just open the door for them. But Washington still had to win their games too, and they did everything they had to there towards the end of the season to earn their way in. When you kind of take a dive into their team stats, however, it doesn't really look like a playoff team. And this is one that's quite interesting, right? Their goals for, they were 28th in the league, averaging 2.63. Goals against 3.07, which was about 16th in the league, and they had a goal differential. And again, looked at a couple websites. I think it's minus 37. A couple other sites had a minus 36. But again, that's not a number you see very often. To be minus in the goal differential and be a playoff team. So a little bit of a misnomer. Not something you normally will see. Both power play and PK, they were kind of middle-ish of the pack. They were 20.6% on the power play, good for 18th, and the PK, they were 79%, good for 19th. And face-off dot, they struggled as well, 46.7%, 28th in the league. So again, not something you typically see out of a playoff team. Of course, skaters, if you don't know these names, and you're clearly not a hockey fan, so we're going to start with the great eight, Alex Ovechkin. Last season, 79 games played, 31 goals, 34 assists for 65 points. Came on real late, last 30 or so games where he started popping the goals back in the net. And he's, what is he, 40 or 41 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's record. So all eyes will be on him this season. I don't know a hockey fan that's not cheering for him to break this record. Okay, maybe there's some Pittsburgh fans not cheering for him to do it. Maybe there's some Wayne Gretzky fans not cheering for him to do it. But I think most objective hockey fans would love to see Alex hit that number. The question is, I think, less about if he does it, but when he does he get the 41, 42 goals this year? Does this bleed into next season? Of course, he's getting up there in age, but uh, I feel like he's got 41 to 42 more goals in his career before he's all said and done. Forward Dylan Strome, 82 games last season for himself, 27 goals, 40 assists, 67 points. Defenseman John Carlson, veteran, 82 games last year, 10 goals, 42 assists for 52 points. And um, not a fan favorite, forward Tom Wilson, 74 games, 18 goals, 17 assists for 35 points. Just a um, old school type, very physical player, walks the line quite often. Even tonight, he was trying to mix things up. Here we are, preseason game two, and there's Tom Wilson out there just, you know, bringing heavy hits and whatnot. Hey, it's hockey, right? You're allowed to hit, but he's one of those guys where I'm sure Capital fans absolutely love him, and every other team hates it. So, um, not a bad thing to have villains out there like that in the league. Makes it a lot more interesting, I think. Um, Makes it interesting for me because guess what? I'm not out there on skates getting hit by this guy, so I find it interesting. I'm sure some opponents probably are not as amused by it. Talk about goaltending. Charlie Lindgren, great year for himself last year. Kind of steals that net from Darcy Kemper. Plays in 50 games, has a record of 25, 16, and 7. 2.67 goals against average with a 911 save percentage. And I think it's really a big catalyst to the team getting into the playoffs. He really played some stout hockey and um, yeah, just was a lot of fun to watch out there just from a technique perspective. He was really solid and I think he had a year that he can really build on going into this season. Of course, the team makes a trade with Vegas, bringing over Logan Thompson. Also had a decent year for himself out there in Vegas, 46 games for him, 25, 14, and 5, 2.70 goals against average, and a 908 save percentage. So, got two kind of younger guys here, both fairly similar numbers, a good 1A, 1B situation. They should be very solid in net. Key additions, and this is something where go back to earlier this summer. I ranked Washington in my top 5 of, most improved teams, after July 1. I just thought they did a really good job spending the money they did and bringing in some interesting players. Starting with forward Andrew Mangiapane comes on over. Of course, they add, the big name Pierre-Luc Dubois from the LA Kings. Of course, we just mentioned Logan Thompson. They bring over Jacob Chikrin, defenseman, trade there with Ottawa. Signing Matt Roy, one of my favorites, defenseman from the LA Kings, forward Brandon Duhaime, and forward Taylor Radish, all coming over. Out the door, of course, goalie Darcy Kemper traded away. Defenseman Nick Jensen also traded away, I believe, in that Ottawa deal for Chikrin, and then forward Nicholas Abe-Kubel out the door as well. Um, last year, of course, that run to the playoffs was, yeah, sure, slightly unlikely. When you look at the goal differential, some of those, team metrics, it was unlikely. But regardless of the numbers, they got in. They got in, and now look at this roster. I feel like they definitely improved by quite the solid margin. And like I just said, I just really like those additions. They added a good mix of veteran forwards and defensemen, and along with that addition of Logan Thompson to go with Lindgren, I just think it gives them a very solid goalie tandem. So, much of the narrative last year, of course, was, oh, well, they kind of got lucky to sneak into the playoffs. Detroit, Philly kind of caved and fell apart. Washington didn't really deserve it. Oh, OB's lost the step, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all that kind of talk. And they were one of 16 teams that got in, despite all the, whether you want to call it luck or other teams falling apart or whatever, they still got in. That's just the facts. Going into this year, this team really should be deeper, should be tougher to play against. And I feel very confident that they're going to be right around that wild card conversation again. Maybe even, I don't know, third in the Metro? Maybe, you know. It's just hard for me to look at a playoff team from a year ago that's also improved their roster and suggest they can't make the playoffs this year. Like, what kind of a logical statement would that be? Playoff team a year ago, they improve, but they're out of the playoffs. Yeah, every year's different. I get that, but I kind of feel like they're going to be right in that conversation again this season. I'll be making my official picks here in a couple of weeks. I am leaning right now towards 5 out of the Atlantic and 3 out of the Metro for the Eastern Conference playoffs. So, if you follow, if I have Washington in the Metro, who am I going to have missing out in that Metro division? Hmm. Could it be the Rangers? Could it be Devils? Could it be Carolina? Don't know. Don't know. Guess you're going to have to just tune back in and find out later. So, yes, a little bit of an abridged version of a season preview for Washington tonight, but wanted to get it in. We are running out of time here, September 24th. We will have the Toronto Maple Leafs up next. Could be a interesting one. And if you are following us at the Black and Gold, our Black and Gold podcast, and of course my Mariners hockey report over at Black and Gold Productions, be watching out next week. Be watching out next week. We will have a podcast at Black and Gold on YouTube. Any Bruins fans, you will want to see this one. Gonna have a special guest. I'm gonna be on there as well as a guest host, so not gonna spoil it, but tune in next week to that, and I promise you will absolutely love it. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the support so far. If you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God